North Idaho weather applies immense pressure to your home. We're dealing with heavy snow loads that sit for weeks, sharp freeze-thaw cycles that expand and contract materials, and intense summer heat that bakes the structure. Then, right in the middle of winter, the warning signs show up. You step outside and see massive icicles hanging off the eaves. Or worse, you go inside and spot damp insulation in the attic, or a sudden brown water stain spreading across your ceiling. When that water stain appears, the immediate reaction is panic. It looks like a classic roof failure. The logical assumption is that a shingle has blown off, the barrier is broken, and it's time to call a contractor for an expensive patch job. But paying to patch your shingles right now might be a complete waste of money. If you treat this like a surface leak without checking underneath, you're buying a temporary fix for a problem that is guaranteed to return the next time the temperature drops. The truth is, that moisture ruining your ceiling is likely coming from inside your own house. This side-by-side comparison matrix exposes the false diagnosis. On the left, we see physical symptoms like ceiling stains, wet insulation, and icicles. On the right side, we map those symptoms to their true causes. We call this the phantom leak. Trapped interior condensation builds up and drips, mimicking the exact symptoms of a breached roof. And if you misdiagnose it, you end up caught in a cycle of unnecessary repair spending, fixing shingles while the real problem festers inside. A modern roof functions as a three-part interconnected system. It requires ventilation, air sealing, and insulation, all working together to manage the climate up there. Patching the top layer of the roof only treats the symptom. Until you balance the entire attic environment underneath it, that moisture will keep rotting the wood and ruining your drywall. A healthy roof has to breathe. To do that, it requires a perfectly balanced intake and exhaust ventilation system that constantly cycles fresh outdoor air through the attic space. This cross-section shows the intended pathway of that airflow. Outdoor air enters low at the soffits or eaves, flows up along the underside of the roof deck, and naturally pushes the hot, moist air out through the ridge vent at the very top. A frequent mistake is assuming the attic is too hot, so homeowners add more exhaust vents near the top. But if the lower intake vents are blocked by debris or stuffed full of insulation, the entire system chokes. When a roof has strong exhaust but weak intake, it creates a vacuum effect. Instead of pulling fresh air from outside, the exhaust vents start sucking expensive, heated air straight from your living room up into the attic. This perfectly explains why installing a powered attic fan to cool down a sweltering summer house can backfire. If the intake is restricted, that fan pulls the air conditioning you paid for right out of your ceiling, driving your energy bills up. Builders measure this balance using a ratio called net free area, or NFA. It's a mathematical calculation to ensure the exact same volume of air can enter the bottom of the roof as can exit the top. Cutting more holes and adding more vents is not a universal fix. The airflow only works when the pressure and pathways are strictly balanced. The moisture-destroying cold climate roofs usually starts right in the living room. Every time you boil pasta, take a hot shower, or run a load of laundry, you generate invisible humidity. This diagram traces the path that humidity takes. Warm air rises and the vapor slips through tiny gaps around recessed lights, unsealed ceiling joints, and attic hatches, drifting straight into a freezing cold attic sticks. One of the most damaging setups we see is a bathroom exhaust fan that terminates right into the attic instead of being routed completely outdoors. It acts like a humidity pump, dumping concentrated clouds of vapor directly onto the roof decking. When that warm, moist indoor air collides with the freezing wood and metal roofing nails up there, the moisture instantly condenses and transforms into a thick layer of frost. The frost sits there safely until a midwinter thaw cycle hits North Idaho. Then, all of that accumulated ice melts at the exact same time, rapidly raining down onto the insulation. From your living room, the resulting ceiling stain looks identical to water dripping from a busted shingle. But the shingles are fine. You're just looking at your own recycled shower water. Investing in comprehensive attic air sealing stops that vapor from rising in the first place. It keeps your home's moisture contained, saving you from paying for a phantom roof repair. Even more destructive than interior condensation is the biggest winter threat to a North Idaho roof, the ice dam. This cross-section illustrates the root cause of an ice dam. It starts when attic insulation is thin, compacted, or uneven. Your expensive home heating slips right past the weak insulation layer and warms the upper half of the roof deck. That escaping thermal energy artificially heats the shingles from below, melting the snowpack near the top of the roof even when the outside air is freezing. That meltwater travels down the slope until it reaches the unheated eaves and overhangs. Because there's no heat escaping over the edges, the water rapidly refreezes into a solid block of ice. This creates a physical barrier that blocks proper drainage. As more snow melts, the new water pools behind the ice dam and has nowhere to go but backward. It forces its way underneath the shingle layers, rotting the wood and dripping directly into the wall cavities below. A thin thermal barrier hurts you in July, too. Without proper insulation to block it, extreme summer heat trapped in the attic simply radiates downward, baking your upstairs living quarters. Insulation serves as the critical thermal barrier. It protects the cold roof from the heat of the home in the winter and protects the cool home from the heat of the roof in the summer. As a homeowner, you have a choice to make. You can pay for a cheap, temporary patch that guarantees the moisture will return, or you can invest in a whole system intervention that permanently stops the cycle. Installing a brand new, expensive 30-year shingle or metal roof over a compromised, poorly ventilated attic is a massive financial risk. The materials are new, but the destructive conditions underneath remain exactly the same. A professional audit evaluates every component of the system simultaneously. This scorecard details the critical checkpoints, measuring intake air area, verifying that soffit baffles are open, inspecting exhaust fan terminations, and assessing the insulation depth. Pay attention to the warning signs this season. If you are dealing with recurring ice dams, hot upstairs rooms in the summer, or a musty odor coming from the attic, the system is failing. If you are receiving bids for a roof replacement, demand that the contractor evaluates your attic airflow. If they don't look inside the attic, they aren't solving the whole problem. We advise against trying to diagnose this yourself. Climbing icy roofs is dangerous, and it is incredibly easy to misdiagnose interior condensation as an exterior surface leak. That's where SkyRight Roofing and Gutters steps in. We are regional experts specifically trained to diagnose these complex, interconnected cold weather system failures. We serve homeowners across Coeur d'Alene, Post Falls, Sandpoint, Hayden, Rathdrum, Athol, and Spirit Lake. From winter leak diagnosis and gutter drainage reviews to full-scale roof replacements designed with proper, balanced ventilation, we fix the actual source of the moisture. The defining rule of North Idaho home ownership is simple. A roof can only ever perform as well as the attic below it. Let's make sure yours is built to last.